And we're live.
Hola, Madridistas and fellow football enthusiasts, who are going to be joining today to see our tears. Yeah, this is a day for the rest of Europe to celebrate. Huh? We haven't given them enough. They have been starving. They have been, um, you know, put through the test for the last 10 years or so. So, yeah, this is your time to rejoice. This is your time to, um, yeah, take it all in and watch us become a clown show for a sec, right? I mean, if we basically keep finding a way against the odds when we don't really deserve to, the balance of life would be upset. So we had to kind of get back to not defying the loss of nature for once, but um, many people who will be in the chat later on, people who will be listening to this back would have, you know, umpteen interpretations of what actually happened and what could have happened and what shouldn't have happened. Um, but I'm clear. I have a very clear mind, which is surprising to me because usually I just lose any, uh, yeah, any sort of you know um reasonability when it comes to my team and a performance like this. Usually I'm seething way beyond logic, which tends to get the better of me. But tonight, maybe it's because of the Bernabeu awaiting in the second leg. Maybe it's because this season's performances have been pretty shocking to say the least. All that compounded into how I feel at this moment in time. Um, but one thing I'm for certain, a couple of things go the other way this game. It is never a 3-0. It is never a 3-0, and I'm pretty confident it is never a loss against Arsenal because yeah, they didn't muster much. Yes, we have seen teams give us a run for our money. In previous away games, we saw that against City last year. We saw that against City the year before. We saw that against City the year before that. We saw that against City, a struggling City side, this year in the first leg as well. So our ability to survive, I was pretty confident in. But we'll get into it. We'll get into it. Um, Big up Farooq, big up Sahil. I'll come to you first, Farooq. When you got on, you said you had no words, right? Is it purely down to the performance, or is it down to the fact that we lost to an Arsenal side who has gotten to the quarterfinals in just five of the last 10 years? Um, very very little experience, absolutely no trajectory in terms of a Champions League winning um, side. Is that what makes it harder to swallow, or is it just
I think I'd say
everything?
I'd say neither of that because the point is this, like we really don't care about what the opposition team does. Like we don't care about who
Mm,
the opposition is. Like for all we care, like, I mean, it could be a lot, it could be a bunch of college kids, joined together. It could be literally like the
yeah.
next door neighbors that just formed the team and came to play. But what you cannot accept is that when your team doesn't put in any performance, when your team doesn't show up, you
Mm,
cannot force certain things. I even said this, to Doris on that stream that
yeah.
I felt like the two goals from Declan Rice were just like, divine intervention. It's an act of God. Like there is nothing
Mm,
you can do about that. Of course, like she was talking about like, the free kicks to not like, establish themselves or anything. I have no issues with that. But the problem I have with is the lack of effort, the lack of urgency, the lack of understanding that we actually need to get stuff done.
mm,
And to what extent we keep going over and over, games and games and games. You keep winning the games. You keep saying, you have a comeback, you find a way, this and that, this and that. But to what extent? And today we got found out, and we talk about this game. You look at this, like, this is an Arsenal team that are a very unspectacular team. A very, very unspectacular team. We could not find a goal against them.
mm,
For Thibaut, we had two goal, I think two goal line clearances, two from Alaba. one from one from Bellingham, and also one from Saliba in the first half, in the 7th minute. So literally, I'm talking to you about almost 7 goals. And for us, what's happened? It's Vinicius Junior. Yeah, Vinicius Junior. Okay, yeah, you're talking about you have to do stuff 10 times to show up and win the Ballon d'Or. It's Kylian Mbappe. Then so yes, what is that? It's Rodrigo. It's Jude Bellingham. Yeah, the battle. The English battle. Rice against Jude. We saw what Rice did. Where was Jude? You look at that, and people, rightly or wrongly, want to focus on the wrong things. You talk about David Alaba being a weak link. Bro, this is Bukayo Saka we're talking about. Do you think Frank Garcia was going to fare better against Bukayo Saka? For God's
Alaba, I
sake.
think, did pretty well. I mean,
And that's just
considering
the reality. Like,
circumstances.
you cannot come here and talk about the fact that, Alaba was skinned by. No, come on, bro. Like, this is just the reality. As a world class, winger that Bukayo Saka is, he's gonna get the better of David Alaba a couple of times. What can you do? The only way to stop those guys is by kicking them. Bukayo Saka was kicked twice, 2 free kicks, 2 goals.
Yeah.
What did our guys do? Fuck all. What did Carlo Ancelotti do? Fuck all. This game is as much on the players as much on the coach. And I go back to the coaching staff again. When you allow the players to be complacent, when you allow the players to feel that they're invincible, this is the result of what we get. Vinicius Junior knows that even if he sleeps on the pitch, nothing is gonna fucking happen. The substitution is preset. I can tell you since 1 year ago, what's our substitution? 88 minutes, Rodrigo for Brahim Diaz. Full stop, basta, nothing else.
Yeah.
Nothing else. We're 3-0 down, and the substitution we can make, bro, is Lucas Vazquez. It's Fran Garcia. Oh my God, bro. I know Endrick is not a world beater. I know Arda Güler is not a game changer. I know this. Like, they haven't proven that yet. I know.
But Endrick should have come on.
Bro, the both of them should have come
early.
on. What the fuck were all the guys doing? The both of them should have come on. Today was the day to bring out Jude Bellingham and put on Arda Güler. Today was the day to bring out Vinicius Junior, play Endrick, play Brahim Diaz, and let Mbappe support them. Because Mbappe has been in the better form of all three. So at least we give them that benefit of the doubt. But bro, come on. Like, I mean, I don't know what kind of hierarchy. In the past we talk about the cult of the likes of Sergio Ramos, Cristiano with his Portuguese-speaking players as well and all that. But then now you look at it like, are they telling me that Vinicius Junior and those guys also have formed the cabal in the team? Bro, I mean, we can accept a lot of things. But one thing that just I will never accept, is the lack of effort and the lack of activity also from the bench. Carlo Ancelotti looked clueless. I mean, he's always been clueless, with all due respect. He's always been clueless. But the point is just that today he got exposed. And that's the thing. Like, when you get exposed at the Etihad 2 years ago, City at their pump, Erling Haaland, the treble winning Man City, you can accept that to some extent. It was a difficult pill to swallow. You can accept that. But this is even more painful because this is a team.
Can I counter that? I mean, I wanna bring in Sahil as well, but can I counter that point by mentioning that Carlo basically went back to basics? By basics, I mean what he has tried, tested, and what has worked for him, in his second stint with us, especially considering that Arsenal are a side that isn't that creative. I mean, they do have a couple of players who have a bit of gold dust in their boots, but they mostly rely on set pieces. So what Carlo again went back to is what he did at the Etihad. Be compact, 4-4-2, disciplined, and try to limit them to basically shots from outside the box or an odd cross in to Merino. And that's what happened, or Rice, or anyone for that matter. And that's what happened mostly for the first half. I think the first half went to plan.
Bro, I don't think we watched the same game, man. I honestly do not think we watched
the first half. For me, at least, from what I know, how Carlos sets us up, bro, this is familiar territory for me. I know, Farouk, you have high expectations and you demand more. I completely respect that. And
bro, I'm telling you,
different...
in the 7th minute, Saliba literally cleared a ball off the line. Okay, it was a set piece, it was a corner. I agree with that.
Yeah.
After that, Bukayo
Every
Saka
team
literally,
benefits
there were
from
two
a couple of
instances.
lucky
The
moments
first
like them,
time,
Farouk.
Saka skinned Bellingham, he created a perfect chance. If Arsenal had a striker, it's a tap in, it's gone. The second time he skinned
We could
Alaba,
say
he
it's the
created
same
another
about Mbappe's
perfect
chance.
chance.
You know,
Mbappe's chance.
Mbappe on his A game calls it. I mean, no Raya, no Casillas, no Thibaut is
That's
stopping
what I'm
that.
saying. This now requires Mbappe's moment of individual brilliance. But what I'm saying to you now is a clear-cut chance was created by Bukayo Saka. Two instances when he skinned the players that are playing there.
That's also Saka's individual brilliance, right?
No, that's not about Saka's individual brilliance. It's about the moment of creating chance. Because the point now becomes this: what are you doing? You're making. Did you see the movement I'm talking about? It was a 1-2 between Odegaard and Saka. It's not like Saka.
Did you see the Jude Bellingham pass to
that was
Mbappe?
always gonna happen once or twice in the first half.
No, I'm saying, of course, like what I'm trying to counter here is that, like, when you talk about you have a low block, it's not like this team didn't have a chance to score in the first half. They had chances to score in this first half, about 4 or 5 chances that could have been goals. Of course, what's it called? We also had 2 chances in the first half. The first half was more evenly balanced. But what I'm trying to point out here is that we cannot say that, oh, the first half was good, as if like we literally shut them out and it was, in the second half that we capitulated. No, they were knocking on the door in the first half.
This is what we expect from Carlo. First leg away, damage control, damage limitation. Farouk,
it's usually how it is, Farouk.
Template.
How is this I don't understand what you guys are talking about. How is this a template? Where is this transition then? What we do is that we sit back and we make a transition. Where is the transition then?
Right.
It should have been somewhere late in the first half. Like, I think beyond the 30th minute, we soon found out that Arsenal weren't exactly on their A game either in that first half.
That's when I mean, the amount of mistakes Kivio made, in the first 15 minutes.
And that's when that should have changed. Like, I agree with Sunil. That's usually how the way it is in the first half.
That's usually how it goes. I'm not denying that, but there's usually a counter on the other hand. This is exactly the game that happened at.
We did create a couple of decent chances.
Where we lost 4-0. Where we lost 4-0, this is exactly what happened. We were camped in our box. We couldn't do jack shit.
The 4-0, we were gagged, Farouk. I'm telling you, we were basically tied up and gagged. This game, in the first half, we had a counter punch. I mean, come on.
I agree with you. I'm not denying that. But what I'm saying to you is that we had a counter punch. Again, yeah, true, valid. There is no denial of that. But it's not like we shut these guys down.
Yeah, we didn't.
We don't shut anyone down, Farouk.
So then, what's the point of what's the whole point?
Yeah, that's the clear flaw in how Carlo sets up. The logic doesn't logic always. When Carlo goes for a pragmatic setup,
many times. I know that we're never gonna go to the Emirates. We're not gonna go into any big game away to play the opposition toe-to-toe. I know this. I'm not stupid. I'm not naive. I know this 100%. I know this. This is what I expect. That we're gonna sit down. But then, where is the counterpunch? Can you guys just tell me? I don't know. I have forgotten. Just told me in the first half, where were the counterattacks? I remember there was one with Kylian.
I have written it all down. I mean, like from the get-go. Yeah, from kickoff, I remember, the Mbappe pop shot he had, with the Kivio mistake. If he sprays it wide and, kind of, anticipates a cross into the box and probably something happens, if he squares it to Rodrigo out wide. And then we had the Mbappe. These aren't 1xG chances. These are chances that on the A game, we see Vinicius, Rodrigo, Mbappe bury them. They Bellingham as well. I mean, like if you remember the amount of recoveries Camavinga made, that led directly to some promising, breaks.
I mean, honestly, other than Camavinga and to some extent to Modric, I don't know. Even Fede Valverde, bro, like what the fuck was he doing? Honestly, like, Camavinga is the only player, of course, like Thibaut. Of course,
the way Fede got beat. I mean, Fede is playing through injury. I mean, we can't. If anyone we should make an excuse for, it's Fede, Faru. Like I'll be honest, but he was shocked. The way he got bet by Gabriel Martinelli. If you remember the Thibaut double triple save, Alaba clearing it off the line, the whole sequence. That isn't Fede at his best, and I'm pretty sure he isn't 100% fit. It's been obvious, it's been evident the amount of times he goes down. I'm not making a case for anybody else, but Fede, come on, we have to give him some leeway. But to your question, Farouk, why do I think it was different? For me, Sahil, you can comment right out of this. Yeah, like for me, if we don't concede those we concede those free kicks, man. Come on, we concede those kind of free kicks every now and then. It's very common. I know those are dangerous positions, but let's be honest. In the modern game, maybe when I was growing up, when you were growing up, Sahil, when you were growing up, Farooq, we had free kick specialists, right? Who could, rip one in from any angle, possibly, even the most tight angles you can imagine. But Rice, for all his plaudits and all his expertise, playing in the World Cup, playing in a couple of World Cup, a World Cup and a European final as well, winning the Conference League or something with West Ham, he has experience, but he has never showcased that. He has free kick taking ability of a Carlos, right? Or a Juninho. I'm pretty sure all these guys would have gone through, hours of footage to know what exactly do they do with set pieces, because set pieces are, these guys, it's their fetish. This is Arsenal's, bread and butter. So for us to give away those free kicks, I'm pretty sure it isn't with the notion that, this is game over then. Nobody's expecting Rice to basically, that's why the wall was so shocking. There was an extra man in the wall. Nobody's expecting
even with
Rice
an extra
to bend.
man, I still think that's going top corner.
Yeah, this is one of those days. I mean, Bayern lost at home in the Champions League. I'm telling you, something is up with today. I'm not making an excuse, but I'm just trying to cope maybe. I don't know. But Rice bending that in from out to in with that much curve, precision, whip. And then what Thibaut does is, okay, next one, I'm going to be more cautious. I'm going to ask the boys to make a better wall, right? And I'm going to not be so leaning, position-wise. I'm going to be a bit more central. So, try and guess the man. But what does he do? He aims to his near post. That's it. Boom. I mean, from then on in, you're shell-shocked. You can see the faces of Jude Bellingham, Mbappe. All these guys came with a game plan. Sit tight, be compact, fight as much as you can. I know Farooq said effort was lacking. But me personally, effort was there. Up until we went 2-0 down. From 2-0, yeah, it was a shot of the system for Arsenal, the Emirates, and all of their fans. They just galloped away after that.
Sorry, let me just interrupt you. Like, you're speaking as if this is an anomaly. Bro, just 1 week ago, we conceded 4 at the Bernabeu against Sociedad. That's 10th in the league, bro.
Yeah, I know.
You're talking about, players being shell-shocked, bro. Who is a newcomer to this?
So, Farooq, just in contrast to the season, like, with how many abysmal performances we've seen, both home and away, like Barca twice, that Sociedad performance.
I have nothing to say
just been rolled over by all sorts of teams, not just the big teams.
Yeah,
so I don't think we're surprised by that defensive performance.
But go on, Sahil. Give me your thoughts. You heard me and Farooq have
I just
different
like the way
takes.
That there was some fight in the first half, and there was a game plan that probably you would have going into the game taken a 0-0 at halftime and given us the best chance to go ahead and maybe snatch a lead in the second half. But that obviously didn't happen. What I was shocked was with the lack of punch after the second goal, because even 2-1 is not a bad score. Like a consolation.
Yeah, even 3-1 for me wasn't a bad score.
Way beyond the era of like away goals and whatnot, but the boost that it would give you going into the second leg with just a 1-goal deficit, right? That would then send the pressure back over to Arsenal. But even that wasn't there, because you can say, okay, maybe we conceded 2 free kick goals that we shouldn't have, or we wouldn't have on another day.
Yeah.
And we couldn't have done anything about that, right? Rice whipped that perfectly into the top corner. The second one as well, it was struck so well. Like even Thibaut of all goalkeepers couldn't have touched it. I was shocked with just how passive we were on that third goal.
Yeah.
See the body language on our defenders.
Yeah. Everybody is basically dead inside.
And Mikel Merino is no striker. He's been converted into a striker. This guy is a DM coming from Sociedad.
Yeah.
Who's now scored 6 goals in his
who is unmarked edge of the box. I mean, they're not expecting him to call that in, but still, you should close it down. I mean,
because
come
he scored 5 times. That's what I'm saying, Sunaid.
I know, but he isn't that kind of a finisher. I mean, this is one of his best finishes in his career. I mean, like, I'm not giving them an excuse, but Sahil, they should have done better. This is what they get paid for. get it. But come on, man, that's one heck of a finish. And he didn't even connect with it cleanly. It was a bit behind him. He had to basically scoop it
So then, which is
into the
putting it
bottom
all
left.
out on luck and fortune. The whole fact
No,
that
no, 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 no.
we come here without a game plan, right? We come
Yeah,
here with
yeah,
basically nothing apart from one of Vinicius and Mbappe show up to save the day, and maybe we take a one goal deficit, or a 1-1 draw back to the Bernabeu. In the hope that that happens, and when that doesn't happen, everything hits the fan. Like, I don't see what you're pointing at here, because other than
yeah.
individual brilliance, there's no real, go-to game plan. Because even back in the era of Zidane, we used to say, "Oh, this guy's just crossing inshallah." There was at least a cross in inshallah. It was not just individual brilliance. Even that isn't there.
Yeah.
So then, at some level, you have to have blame on the manager, which I think much of the fan base is starting to see now.
Yeah.
But
99% of the people want about.
yeah,
I mean,
it might already be too late for that. Basically, in a nutshell, it was just the fact that we surrendered so easily. There was so much of lack of resistance after that second goal. I didn't even feel like watching. And very rarely do I say that about Real Madrid in a Champions League game, right? We do have the the inevitability about us, but you can't just rely on that all the time. And somewhere, on some level, we got found out by an Arsenal team that was they didn't even play their best games in it. They just took their chances. They were on their day, and
they didn't know what to do really. The first half,
yeah,
like, I mean,
yeah,
couple of half chances here and there. But
it's
the
not
right
even like
chance was great.
it's not even like they meticulously took us apart with a very
Nah.
well-structured plan. It was not that. Arsenal is not that team anymore. So it just feels worse losing this way to a team that isn't even up there. With all due respect to Arsenal, man.
Yeah. To your earlier point, Sahil, when you said that, yeah, like when you hear me kind of be an enabler and embellish all those key moments in the game down to just luck and fortune. Maybe I'm again trying to cope. See, I have a soft spot, a major soft spot for Don Carlo, right? Like, I'm not going to turn against him. That's just me, right? But I see why you guys are so frustrated. I am as well. I'm seething because I'm coming to Farouk now, right? Because we were kind of having this conversation earlier on, Farouk. When you know well and sure that you're going into a game trying to be compact, trying to sit deep, trying to soak up pressure, and then hit on the brake and hope that the opposition is going to commit a couple of mistakes, it'll work out maybe 7-6 times, especially for a guy like Carlo. His luckometer, if such a thing even exists, it's well out of bounds. He is a guy who is blessed with some sort of good fortune. Some people would argue, but he went with what worked for him. And on a night like this, especially in the Champions League, that's why all the people who scream, at the side of me when I go to work, or when friends call me, people I play with, when they scream, "Oh, Arsenal!" I mean, what are they going to do, right? It's Madrid against Arsenal. It's not Madrid against Barcelona. It's not Madrid against Bayern Munich. Arsenal are a side that is relatively inexperienced. But I, always tell them that I'm never gonna be like, I'm gonna put my chest on the line and say, yeah, my team is gonna blow away any side. Because even if we were at a pump in the Champions League, this is all it takes. This is a very dangerous competition, and we have reaped the rewards of this exact phenomena in the Champions League. One moment of skill, no, I'm not going to call it luck, skill is going to define it. Because Rice, with those couple of bangers, you could see the look on everybody's faces. Oh yeah, the coaching, the set piece coach, basically, the slow-mo replay, it was shown him trying to, he was basically telling him, oh yeah, call it, beyond the wall. But you could do all that. The execution and the way it happened, one after the other, and in two different ways, that basically, I think, took the game all the way from, somewhere being in the middle, could maybe tip Arsenal's way. You could argue, Farouk, up until that point, you maybe would have had a feeling that Arsenal were slightly on top, because we had a couple of goal line clearances, Bellingham once, Alaba first and Bellingham then. Thibaut was called into action, you know. But after that, yeah, that's where the problem lies for me. Like what Sahil said, you can't just freeze up. You're Vinicius, you're Kylian Mbappe.
So, if we know the nature of this competition so well, why would we put ourselves in the firing line of just that, right? It's just stupid going to the Emirates without a clear game plan, right? Another thing, the pragmatism that you mentioned, like in games like this where the opposition's defense can so easily be, played around. It's not a world-class defense by any means. Is that then pragmatism or just cowardice? Just define the difference then between.
I would ask Farouk to go first, because he'll have a
I
better
mean,
answer.
I actually do not agree with the fact that Arsenal's defense is not a world-class defense. Yeah, it's a makeshift defense, but still, like Arsenal's defense is still one of
Very
the
well
top.
drilled team defensively.
It's one of the top three, even without Gabriel. Even with Gabriel, I think the best defense in Europe is Arsenal and Inter's. Other than that, even without Gabriel, like it's a very, very good team. Because
that's why all the odd makers are gonna favor Arsenal.
Exactly, because Arsenal aren't defending with a back four. Arsenal are defending with a back six. Partey and Rice are included in that back four as well. That team is a
You think we couldn't have scored tonight?
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. I do not. I'm not going. I'm not going to say like we couldn't have scored. Of course we could have scored. Of course we should have scored. But the point I want to go back to is that Sunaid uses the word freeze. After the second goal, we freezed. Bro, I don't know if we watched the same game, man. Tell me before the two goals, what did Vinicius and Rodrigo do? Bellingham made some attempts. Kylian Mbappe made some attempts. I agree with that. True, I cannot.
Rodrigo, did he even touch the ball enough?
Okay, then it's not about freezing, bro. It's about the fact that we have set a precedent. And I said this before. The fact that Vinicius Junior and Rodrigo has grown up under Carlo Ancelotti means that most likely the next coach that has to come has to be a total disciplinarian. Because why? These guys have grown up under a system such that allows absolute mediocrity. You can be so mediocre and you can still keep your shirt. You can still keep, your seat on the team. Nothing's gonna happen. Vinicius know that he's not gonna get subbed off.
But I can understand when you talk Rodrigo about and Vinny, if Rodrigo and Vinny bails him out next week, then it worked. But yeah, I get your point.
Okay,
just trying to lighten the mood.
The point is this: like, if Rodrigo and Vinny bails them out next week, okay, that's a whole thing. But for today, they didn't bail him out. Next week, God knows. I don't know. Yeah. But for today, they didn't bail him out.
All the gum in the world won't save Carlo tonight.
At the weekend, they didn't bail him out.
Yeah.
Against Sociedad, they didn't bail him out. So I mean, it's a pattern now. It's literally, I'm counting you the last 3 games. The last 3 games back to back.
11 goals in the last 3 games.
11 goals conceded, man. Actually, it's 11 in 4, right, which is more or less like an average of 3 goals a game.
Yeah.
And I was actually reading a stat just before the Arsenal game that we have scored, I think, around 6 goals less, and we have conceded around 10 goals more. So it means that the addition of Kylian Mbappe and the subtraction of Toni Kroos actually did not lead to more goals, right? Like led to less goals and more concession. We've conceded more and we've scored less. It's crazy. It's crazy. So it's about the fact that, as you know, Sahil also was pointing about the fact that there is actually no bite from this team, at least today. So it's not about Arsenal playing the world. That's thing I go back to. You talked about it's a strange deal. Bayern lost to this. No, Bayern. Did you see the goals Inter scored? Like Bayern lost.
I didn't see it.
A team that played in a better way. You understand? This is just a thing. But today, take away the free kicks, man. Like the goal that Merino scored, it's a goal that you can concede. It's fine. It's not a problem. Like it's just the movement that Merino has because he's not a traditional center forward. So maybe it's difficult for the defenders to understand, what kind of movement he's gonna make. You can take that. You understand? It's not a problem. But Arsenal did not look convincing. I don't know, you guys. Did you guys feel like Arsenal were invincible today?
No way. Far from it.
Arsenal were absolutely ordinary. 2 world-class shots from Declan Rice. Other than that, Arsenal were absolutely ordinary.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's why Farouk, we haven't really blamed the defense much, right?
exactly,
Mm,
exactly. Arsenal were
yeah.
absolutely ordinary. It's not like, like they had like, they packed the bus with 10 buses, but we weren't even able to see, that brilliance of the Arsenal defense that everyone talks about. We didn't even see that
Mm,
because why? They were absolutely untested. So this is why I'm saying to you, saying like we can accept everything, but what we will never accept is that lack of effort. You guys didn't even test this, guys, for God's sake. You guys didn't make different decisions to make, for God's sake. Nothing.
yeah. I mean, it just bred through the team. The lack of not I'm not gonna say effort. It's a different scenario. Once a second goal went in, um, you question my use of the term froze. For me, it was basically I don't know, man, mid, because people were panicking. I'm not sure why anyone would panic. They're panicking and clearing the ball into midfield. They're booting up the ball into midfield. They don't usually, when we are assured of ourselves, when we have some some semblance of self-confidence, we would play through the press. We would use guys like Modric, who can basically unlock the opposition's press triggers quite easily. I mean, that's what he was put in the lineup for. Otherwise, we could have just gone for Brahim and Hail Mary. I did think that Modric, Kamavinga, the midfield, I mean, they did their part, especially defensively. They put in an absolute shift and bailed us out, on at least like 5-6 occasions. But when it came to the second half, when it needed initiative, when it needed urgency, when it needed some quality to make sure that Arsenal were like, oh yeah, like, oh, it's 3-0 on the board, we can't really settle. They were all ace. I mean, getting to that point, unacceptable. Unacceptable, for a club of our stature, a club that has, probably just the Champions League. I mean, Copa del Rey aside, which isn't a trophy that none of us really, um, care much about. No disrespect. It's just the way we are built, right? Champions League was our main ambition this season, and to go away to North London and basically give up after 2-0. Yeah. Carlo has to take the blame, but like you said, the players, yeah. The record, man. I mean, Real Madrid have never come back from a 3 or a 3+ deficit in the Champions League ever.
How much is
2000,
I
PSG
think
then?
Barca is the only team to do that in the history of the Champions League.
Oh,
I
okay.
think
yeah, against PSG.
I
But
think
let me
that
tell
there
you,
is, yeah.
Dortmund 4-1. First leg. I was there, Farouk. You were there. I'm not sure if
Yep,
Sahil
yep,
was there,
yep,
but
yep, yep, yep.
I still remember Lewandowski, pointing, number 4,
Four fingers, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it just broke me. But I still do remember the second leg, for the fact that I'm not gonna sit here and say be delusional, because
With
I'm
Ramos's
not
header
gonna.
that game as well.
Sorry?
Yes. Oh, it wasn't a header. It wasn't a header. It was
Yeah,
a
It
Ramos
was
scored in the game, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Ramos.
It was a shot. It was a shot. Was it
I think it was
near?
Ramos Benzema, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Ramos pretty late.
Yeah, Ramos was a
But
late one. I think Benzema was
mm,
quite early and Ramos was quite late, but yeah, we couldn't get through anyways, yeah.
yeah. See, I'm not gonna sit here and say that this is game over, right? Nor I'm gonna sit here and say that we are gonna absolutely blow Arsenal away in the second leg. Because let's be honest, like what Farouk said, like what the statisticians, laud about, what the bookmakers basically, praise Arsenal for. They are very defensively sound. A team that is designed, that has made keeping out goals, a sort of mentality. So to overcome that and to basically, put Arsenal on the back foot, it's gonna require. I'm telling you, it's gonna require the spirit of Hento. It's gonna require the spirit of Juanito. It's gonna require the spirit of Pushkas. It's gonna require the spirit of fucking Di Stefano all together to come back from the dead and save us. Because I'm not sure, the crowd and the hostility and the Bernabeu is going to be enough. Because this isn't a 2-0 against Wolfsburg. For all the delusionals on the other side who say, oh yeah, we're going to come back, this is the reminder. This isn't Wolfsburg. This isn't the Wolfsburg side that is, found themselves in a spot they aren't too familiar with. Arsenal are going to be coming in with one motive, and that's it. That to not concede and maybe get a goal on the break. When teams are disciplined, when they sit in a low block in La Liga, Sahil, tell me what happens.
Yeah, Real Madrid struggle breaking down those low blocks, and yeah, I'm pretty sure that that's the game plan that they're going to come with. And even if the first leg of the first half in the Bernabeu finishes 0-0, I'm still pretty sure Real Madrid will go at it. The body language and everything will change. The mentality is going to be completely, for different level. And I say this because both Real Madrid and Arsenal actually are two teams that are just so volatile. This season especially, like, you don't know which version of them you're going to get on a particular given day. Like Arsenal, 100%. I know they beat us 3-0, but they weren't
100%.
I know Farouk made a good point. They do have a great defense, but they were not unbreakable tonight. Like, we could have scored past them easily. And even when coming to the Bernabeu, I know they will come with a solid defensive mentality. They will come with the aim to not concede. But that's a given, right? That's not going to change. And the individual brilliance is always going to be there. Like, that's the one part that I was actually kind of disappointed by. The usual blaming suspects that you would look at the end of a game, right? Our fullbacks, we couldn't blame them tonight. We usually have a defensive midfielder, either Kamavinga or Tchouaméni, to blame. Can't blame them tonight.
Kamavinga was absolutely excellent. Right? I mean, he was a second ball magnet.
So this is where you actually look at the guys on the wings. Right, that's where the
Vinicius, concerning Sahil.
So if we are to have any chance, then Vinicius is going to play a big part in that second leg. Without him, I think we're out.
The signs don't look for great reading. Vinicius' body language, the way he's rushing, his shots, his passes. Yeah,
he's forcing his game way more than he used to before. I don't know if it's purely mental or if it's something.
It's mental. It's mental. It's mental. This isn't racism. This isn't witch hunting. This is basically me as a fan speaking with a bit of experience, living life, right? I'm probably like 5-6 years older than Vinny, right? And I clearly know for a fact that when you go out and tweet, oh yeah, I didn't win the Ballon d'Or, I'm going to try 10 times harder.
10 times.
You're only putting pressure on yourself. Just shut your fucking mouth and keep your head down. Get on with the game. You do the job on the pitch. Don't go around making statements you can't back up. You won't be able to back up. You won't be able to back it up unless and until you have at least done it once. Yeah,
it's going to take a mammoth effort. Again, it's a mountain, but like a great man once said, mountains are there to be climbed.
Yeah,
and yeah, I reckon if we get one in the first 20 minutes, then it's game on.
Game on, 100%. Farouk, before we get to the comments, yeah, tough night to live. Dark day in our history for sure. Even if we go through, this is one of those nights where we would tell our grandkids, yeah, we were completely bamboozled. This is the Champions League juju reversing on us. I think this is equivalent, not in terms of the devastation exactly, because we haven't finished the second leg yet. Touch wood, inshallah, all of that, right? But this is comparable to Ajax. This is comparable to City. This is one of those days where people would say, yeah, Madrid, the kings of the Champions League, were completely undone.
Absolutely, yeah, that's the thing. Like the thing also going, you look at this game and actually you come to understand that, oh wow, like if someone was to see this game, you'd assume Arsenal actually are the king of the Champions League, as are the king of the future, because that's the thing. Like, they didn't play up, they didn't play well, but like they end up with a 3-goal advantage. 2 goals are literally like if you replicate them 1,000 times, most likely you score maybe just 10 of those. So it's like it's more they were impossible goals. But again,
Farooq, that's the funny bit, right? If Rice was such a versed free kick veteran, we would see a lot more of this. I don't remember seeing a Rice free kick goal. Maybe once, somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
the last 3 years.
Bro, like, I don't think how many people have scored 2 free kicks in the same match in the space of 10 minutes. How many people in the history of the game?
So 1 in a million.
I'm telling you, not even Juninho, who is arguably the best free kick taker of our generation.
So that's the thing, like 2 free kicks in the space of 10 minutes.
Carlos was in the stands.
Exactly, yeah. Our Carlos was there as well.
I would like to, ask him what he was thinking when he saw those 2 fly into the back of the net. But all that aside, Farooq, right? For the second leg, what is your initial, premonitions? I mean, I know you're going to be extremely pessimistic, right? I'm as well. Like, I don't think we have enough composure and enough chance creation, against well-drilled sides to go through. But I still have a slight hope against hope, that the Bernabeu and what we stand for will come in clutch. But Farooq, talk to me.
I mean, that's the thing, the great side to this, or let's say the upside to this, is that there is no way but down. There is literally no way but down. Like, you have only one thing. Either you win by 3 goals or at least by 4 goals, or you go home. There is no other way to it. So because of that, I feel like there is nothing to lose. It's just going to be like, let's just throw everything we have at these guys and see, how best we can get, so how much we can get from this game. Similar to the game you referenced earlier against Borussia Dortmund. It's going to be something similar. It's going to be very difficult, but if you can get a goal in the first 45 minutes in the first half, you can get a goal up in the first half, I do think it gives you a chance to go for a push in the second half. But I honestly do not think if we can go 45 minutes without getting a goal advantage, it's going to be very difficult to score 3 unreplied goals in the second 45.
Is Saka going to make fit? I don't know.
I don't think, honestly, I wouldn't worry too much about Arsenal offensively, because Arsenal have done the job offensively today. I think Arsenal will focus more.
But on the break.
Yeah, of course, definitely, I agree with that. But even with Saka, without Saka, but one thing you also have to remember also is, like, when you're pushing up a lot in the 60 or 70 minutes, a fresh Saka is more dangerous than a half-field Saka that starts the game. The point is, if Real Madrid is pushing for a winner, you throw in Bukayo Saka, all of a sudden, he changes the dynamic for you offensively. So it could be, something that Mikel Arteta tries to do or not. But honestly, like, I wouldn't be too worried about what Arsenal does offensively, but rather what they will do defensively. Like, the health of Bukayo Saka or lack thereof could be something that's interesting, to keep an eye on. But I do think we have to find a way to be more, efficient offensively. We have to find a way to get our guys, into the game offensively. We have to find a way to channel, the crowd at the Bernabeu, which I believe are going to be phenomenal again on that day. But will that be enough? That remains to be seen.
Yeah.
At least one of those 3 things is directly under the control of the management and the coaching staff. So I do think that if the second leg does turn out to be a disappointment, then there has to be more of that blame channel towards the management. I don't think there's another option then.
Yeah.
You can have
Absolutely.
a 1-off, but at the Bernabeu you can't have a 2-off. Like, that can't happen.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have excuses again for tonight. I mean, I'm just well prepared. I don't know. I just am well prepared with this manager. I've seen enough evidence throughout his second stint with us to know what to expect. And this is a funny game. Football is a funny game. You can't go from 0 to 100 with the gear shift. This isn't Formula 1. This is football. Go on, sorry.
Do you think some of that arrogance must have been played down by tonight's loss?
There is no arrogance. I don't think there is.
But still, the certainty that with which we were going to beat Arsenal. Like,
I mean,
much of a fan base didn't even consider that,
I
challenge
mean,
of yours.
fans can speak for themselves. For me, like I'm one of those guys. I'm a fan as well. I didn't
Yeah.
take this game lightly, and the way Carlos set up from the get-go to give them so much respect, do you think they were cocky? No way, no way, no way. Why would they
The
be
players know,
cocky
but
and set up
yeah,
defensively?
speaking about the fans, I
Mm.
just didn't like the way Arsenal were taking sort of lightly ahead of the game, and that's
Uh,
almost sort of played it
this is their
into their
Champions
hands.
League final, Farouk. I mean, Sahil, you have to.
Still,
Yeah.
there's almost the mentality played into their hands.
Mm. Where you Tottenham in disguise and whatnot. Let's
Yeah,
see, let's see if we have
so you're
an
almost
answer.
giving them reasons to, you
Mm.
know, be better, almost.
Mm. Right. Into a couple of the comments quickly. Ashik was saying no bread today, only rice for Madrid. Um, Alaba starts with 50% match fitness, plays 80 minutes. No, uh, things are not working up front. Let's wait to get 3 goals behind and 85th minute as the usual mix ups. Yeah, Carlo, super passive. I mean, that is that alone is a sackable offense. You are trailing by 3 goals to nil. Where is Hendrick? I mean, are you protecting him from the possibility that he would miss an open net when none of your front three could basically muster three
Three
good
poor
chances?
already.
That's just that logic doesn't logic anymore. I mean, Carlo
Yeah,
Hendrick
it's
has
weird.
proven.
We
What
were
was that?
speaking of those things early. We were speaking of those things like protecting a young player
Hmm.
like Andrik and all of that. But now he's
Yeah,
had enough minutes under his belt to
he has
face it on
he
the
has, he has had enough
expected.
minutes and he has done pretty well, right? To
Yeah,
score that chip.
he's shown up. So I just didn't like the, and when I speak of the passiveness, right, it's not just players, it's also the manager.
Hmm.
There's very little change after that second goal.
Yeah, Ashik is super harsh. We came to London as Madrid and left North London looking like Spurs. I mean, yeah, he was mentioning, Farouk, the players are complacent because Carlo created that situation. He's agreeing with you. They are assured of starting the game thanks to Carlo's nepotism. I mean, at this point, it is very, very, very close to some sort of nepotism. I mean, nepotism means that you have someone inside the hierarchy that lets you take a privileged position. But yeah, this favoritism is a problem. But come on, man, Brahim when he starts isn't great. Rodrigo when he's consistently starting. Vinicius is, yeah, subbing him off. That is the major question mark because yeah, I can't understand it. You know, one side of me, it reckons Winnie Champions League pedigree, right? His record speaks for itself.
Nights like this, Sinead,
Mm,
it's just
yeah,
not clicking.
yeah,
No matter how
yeah,
much
yeah,
criteria you have,
yeah, yeah,
you have
yeah.
to have the vision to,
Mm,
the writing is on the
mm,
wall with when he
mm,
in some games more than others.
mm.
He's just not there mentally. So the sooner you take him off, the better it is
He
for
he
him.
wasn't he hasn't been on it mentally for a bit. I mean, the Sociedad
Bit-
game he turned it around with two
And
brilliant
without any
assists.
provocation. This time that there has been no provocation or fan insults
There
or
hasn't been a provocative thing, in in the equation in the last 3 or 4 games. But yeah, he's just off it. It's natural. He had 3 world class seasons. Let's be honest. 21-22, 22-23, 23-24. He was just a class apart. But
yeah.
yeah, now he has had a drop off. You have to take it as it comes. He isn't Cristiano. We have to basically get accustomed to people have in an off season. But yeah, like what Farooq said, like what you were saying, Vinicius has to absolutely turn up if we need to turn this around. A big
It's
up
one thing
Anish, he
to
was
have an
meant.
off season. It's one thing to have an off season and
Mm.
another entirely to say that I'm going to do 10 times better and then have an off season.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I said earlier, sometimes you shouldn't jinx yourself. you know, I believe in shit like that. It is silly, it is petty, but yeah. Anish was mentioning, big up Anish, what an embarrassing show, and Ancelotti has lost the steam. The hug stopped working months ago. Sack Carlo right now. Don't let him back on the plane. Leave him in London. I'm not gonna read that out, Anish. But big up yourself. Um, right. Yes, Ray was mentioning. I mean, Ashik was mentioning we had a counter at the first half, but I don't know whether it was a punch or not. Yeah, I thought it was a pretty decent, you know, return. It was a good give and take for at least the first half, I do believe. But yeah, the goal line saves and whatnot would kind of press home the narrative that Arsenal had the better chances. The Punjab was mentioning the whole season we played bad, then we started Ceballos, played good for 2 months, and again played like shit. I mean, yeah, creatively, I don't think even Ceballos would make a difference because the motto from kickoff was contain, let Arsenal make the mistakes, and we feast on it. We almost did a couple of times. If only one of those goes in, we walk away with a much, much better scoreline. But yeah, things like these, Carlo, this is why even the staunchest fans out there like me, when I look at a night like this, yes, you bank on negating, the divine intervention, negating skill set, completely nullifying what a team can do, despite Arsenal being subpar, attacking wise. When luck kisses you, when the Champions League, juju, what we read so much on about, it gives you uh, a good ticket on the night. You have no answers. This is why people question your depth, your career, your pedigree. Coaches with your experience or even less experience, they're counteractive. When your game plan A goes out of the window, B goes out of the window. Usually that's the case in the Champions League. C goes out of the window. You should have a plan D. You should have enough faith to say, okay, let's at least roll the dice. Is Vasquez been on rolling the dice? Is basically just going through the motions after 2-0 up, rolling the dice? I don't get it. If the players are lacking conviction, you on the sideline should be man enough, big enough to make bold decisions. Pull Vinicius off. I mean, yeah, it might impact his morale. Maybe the second leg he's going to be like, yeah, he basically fucked me, right? But I do think if Vinicius is a grown ass man, he would realize that he isn't having the best of seasons. He isn't having the best of months, but to put it lightly. So yeah, let's hope all these decisions that is basically a domino effect of how his management style, how his decisions on the pitch, how he sets us up, how his subs are being implemented, all that has come down to this, right? You want to keep the harmony, you want to protect your boys, you want to keep Friendship FC intact. Wednesday is the litmus test. This is the test of their lives. People can say, oh yeah, we can't win the Champions League every year. Fuck that. This is a golden opportunity to retain the Champions League. This will be something that will be talked about for the next, I don't know, 100 light years. That's how big it'll be if we retain the Champions League post BBC. I can't stress this enough. So you can turn all these people who are going against you, like who wanna see your head on a head on a stick. People who are wishing that the club loses just because they want to see you, out. This is your answer, Carlo. This is your time to basically be be the holy one. Turn water into wine. Right. The Punch was mentioning Carlo should go. He made all the players lazy, no synergy, no game plan. We need some hard tasking manager. I'm not sure what that means, but who will whip these guys? Oh yeah, at Madrid, I'll be honest. If Tuchel comes in, I've said this so many times. Conte comes in, no way. It's downhill. I'm pretty sure Pretty sure I'll be right. So be ready. If something like that happens, I'm pretty sure our management isn't that dumb, but you never know. Football is a funny game. Pick up Ricardo. Long time. He was mentioning once you play Modric and Alaba, for whom the game has passed, you are always bound to lose. How much more losses do we need for Carlo to be sacked? Yeah. Alaba, to be fair, I think he did okay. I didn't maybe my expectations were rock bottom, but he had a fair account of himself today. Game changing goal line clearance. If it is 4-0, let's not even board the bus on Wednesday. But there you go. A big up DF Fault. He was mentioning, man, Perez, he should have been gone a long time ago. A long time ago means we are without 4 of the last 15 Champions Leagues, 5 of the last, 6 of the last. Yeah, you do the counting. Dipaj was mentioning Carlos sub Fran and Vasquez. Yeah, sackable offense. Ashik was mentioning when your defense is that broken, then you play in a way that keeps the game away from your defense as much as possible. But Carlo is living in some fantasy. That's one thing I never get it. Sahil and Farouk, if you can, have an insight about this, chip in, right? He sets up pragmatically, but yet he can't keep the ball out of the back of the net. It is beyond me. I'll be honest, it is beyond me. It is a fundamental flaw, but I'm not a tactician. When I as a fan watch the game, we are pragmatic. We are sitting in a well-disciplined block, trying to contain, and then we concede goal after goal.
Yeah. It's a team effort, right? So like the point is, unless you defend as a team, like it's it's always going to be like you're going to be.
Then why the fuck are you being pragmatic if you don't trust your players? You should go for it, right?
Exactly.
When you sit back until 1-0, then you go for it.
Exactly, that's the thing. Like if you're gonna like do that with Vinicius and Kylian Mbappe, even to some extent Rodrigo as well, like these are people that are not gonna like chip in a lot defensively. So you're creating certain overloads in certain directions, and unless you do this as a team, when you look at the teams that creates the best low blocks, they do it as a complete unit. It's not about the half-hearted presses from certain individuals. So it has to be a complete unit, and this is what Real Madrid does not do. This is the thing, like it's not something that we know how to do. Like for years and years, we've seen it. Like we try to do the low block, we are unable to successfully do it, and one way or another, we find miracles happen. I mean, we can go back to the game in Paris, the game at Stamford Bridge. We can count a lot of games. It's not just something that's like over the past 4 years. We can count tons of games against the big boys that we've just been unable to do that successfully.
Also, shout out to Lewis Kelly, shout out to Declan Rice. They had one of their best ever games. I mean, Lewis Kelly in Burton took Modric completely out of the equation so many times. The ease with which they could break down our right. I mean, Fede was off it. I shudder to think what would have happened if it was Vasquez starting, according to some of the rumors, and Fede in midfield. But yeah, despite that, we didn't have answers. Modric, throw him on in the last 30, he can make things work. But if you ask him to do the hard yards and then have the stamina to, unlock defenses, I mean, man, you have to realize the guy is 40. I don't know. But yeah, Tchouaméni suspended first leg. Tough decisions. Who else can you trust with the midfield? Maybe a different shape. 4-4-2 for soaking up Arsenal's pressure, but Camavinga and Modric as your pivot, Bellingham and Rodrigo flanking either side. I don't know. We gave Arsenal too much respect, man. Too much respect. Ashik was mentioning, and now April 26th we'll get spanned again. Carlo will sign an extension. Big up Moon, he was mentioning today, I'm happy Carlo out. I know you have the crying emoji, but I never get those fans. I mean, you can have your opinion, right? You can hate a man, but you can't like the club failing because you want a particular man gone. I never get it. Big up Anish was mentioning our build-up play has been appalling for months. All we do is pass the ball side to side and then back to the keeper. The plan B is Vinny running straight into 2 players and then losing the ball. I mean, all that is basically creative freedom. This is the Carlos' managerial philosophy is probably, I think, it's probably the backbone for some of our greatest indie filmmakers, of this generation. I'm being very honest, because the amount of freedom they have, it's beyond me. Because if Winnie can basically do that, time after time without repercussions, without being a bit more pragmatic in how he's trying to, do stuff. I mean, tonight it wasn't really down to him over dribbling or just running into walls. Yeah, the general feeling, especially with him this season. Yeah, that's the picture. Anish was also
We've spoken
mentioning.
about the hands-off approach, creatively,
Yeah,
offensively, at extent, right? Even earlier in the season, this was one of the main topics of discussion.
yeah,
But the one thing that you can control is moving around your pieces, right? If Vinny on the left wing isn't working, either sub him out or put Rodrigo on the left wing. We've known for so long now that Rodrigo on the
yeah.
left wing produces every time he plays there. It's not just a one-off.
Vinicius
So
is
you
untouchable on
still
the
have the
left. Come
freedom to
on,
do that, right? You still
you
have the
you
freedom
you
to do
can't.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
And as much of a offhands approach that is he
Mm,
wants to implement,
mm,
there's still a lack of changing things when the time is there
mm.
for things to be changed.
We expected this front three to be a lot more dynamic. Where is the dynamism? Where is the dynamism?
You
I'm
can't
pretty
you can't
sure
expect your
the
front four to
players don't
manage
like him.
themselves.
Vinny must be telling Carlo, you know what? On the right, I don't think I can do much.
So take him
So
off.
this is why the Friendship FC exists. Um, but yeah, Anish was mentioning we will lose at the Bernabeu as well. Mark my words. Um, yeah, I hope you're not right, Anish. I'm pretty sure you hope that as well. Moon was mentioning Bellingham created two chances. Where was Vinny and Rodrigo? Mbappe finishing. Where has it gone? Yeah, this is an Mbappe's. We consider every great Mbappe goal to be his, definite comeback. But um, I haven't seen enough evidence to know that he is fully back at his 100% confident, blistering best yet. The way he hits the ball, especially when it is breakaways and at tight angles. The Mbappe I know, provided I didn't watch him every week in Liga, but the big games he has played ever since he was 17, when he is through on goal, he has some somewhat an okay-ish side of goal. He tries to bend it in. Simple as. Where is the bend? Where is the bend on the shot? He just can't connect it. See, I'm not trying to be a couch analyst. I never do tactics. Okay, I'm very bare bones in terms of tactical insight on the spot. Me as a person, I'm pretty sure Farooq Sahil, all of you guys have better knowledge about the tactic side of things. But just watching it unfold, having played the game myself, not at a professional level, his ball striking is completely off it. He just isn't in his element. That's the bottom line. Um, yeah, Mbappe has to be absolutely. I'm telling you, he has to be noodle hair Cristiano at the Bernabeu. Nothing else would be enough. Noodle hair Cristiano, one chance bang. That has to be Mbappe on Wednesday. Otherwise, fingers will be pointed, eyes will be on you. I'm telling you, I was a huge doubter whether you would, bring us the glory that we had without you. Now, this is your chance to prove your mettle and prove guys like me wrong. I'm pretty convinced that he is someone that is going to absolutely help us. But yeah, Wednesday you have to replicate what your idol did. Simple as. Um, Anish was mentioning now Deportivo did it against Milan. Um, I wasn't around, but yeah, Super Depot, heard lots about them. Ashley was mentioning we are going to need the spirit of Christ himself to resurrect us from the dead. Easter is around the corner, so who knows? Who knows? Anish was mentioning, what's the point anyway? If we come back, we'll get spanked by PSG. You never know that. We never know anything in the Champions League. I'm telling you. We never know nothing. Players might as well call the season now and rest up for the World Cup managed by Alonso or Klopp. Mm, big claims. Are you an ITK, Anish? Do you know some inside info that isn't quite readily available to us? Anish was mentioning only Rivaldo and Cristiano has done it, scored twice in one Champions League game. That's the height of what Rice did. Rivaldo at his best for Barcelona, I presume. Moon was mentioning Arsenal looked like a well-oiled machine. Right, 2 free kicks in one game. Okay, not 2 goals. I mean, yeah, 2 free kicks in one game. I think that was obvious. When he's dreaming about Gawa in Saudi, meanwhile he's settling for Sangria. His focus is elsewhere. Yeah, people who haven't tried Gawa, absolute must try. I'm pretty sure Farouk and Sahil would have tried it, but yeah, I need to mention, to be honest, right now I'll take 300 million for him and put in a cheeky 200 bid for Haaland, 100 for Wirtz, Mbappe to the left. I mean, look at all these people, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. This is what the Champions League does to the mortals. I guess. Ashok mentioned retain the Champions League? Question mark. We'd be lucky to be able to retain the trophy of Bernabeu at this point. Yeah. Right then. And he was mentioning I'd be happy with Trent and Hernandez managed by Alonso. Did you watch the video of Theo arguing with a player, leaving his attacker unmarked and just strolling? I was a huge fan of Theo, but yeah, he has definite mentality problems. But you never know. A club like us, he called the Bernabeu once his home. It might change him, but coming back to matters, next week, do or die. Farouk, tell me, right? I did mention it earlier. 2-0 against Wolfsburg was a different kettle of fish. This is absolutely a completely different scenario. And we don't have a Cristiano who is guaranteed a goal per game, the king of the Champions League. How on earth are we going to have enough in us? I mean, you did mention a goal in the first half would give us a chance, but how on earth are we going to cope with that much expectation?
Yeah, that's the thing. You hit the nail on the head. Like, we do not have Cristiano, and not just Cristiano. We do not have the mentality of those guys. Right now, we have a bunch of wannabes who think that, like they're the best, but actually they do not know jack shit. So that's just the truth, This is just the thing, like, we do not have that mentality. So we don't know who's going to show up. We don't know if it's the Ballon d'Or winning Vini. We don't know what kind of Rodrigo is going to show up. We don't know what kind of Jude is going to show up. We don't know what kind of, Kylian Mbappe is going to show up. So it's it depends on the players that show up, honestly. I do think if these guys show up, I definitely do think we have a puncher's chance. We have a fighting chance. We absolutely are back against the corner, but if there is a team, if there is a stadium that can overturn this, it's Real Madrid and the Bernabeu. However, saying all of this again, it remains and only remains what the players do. Because one thing I know for sure is that it's not going to depend on what Carlo does. Carlo's going to do fuck all. It just relies on the individual brilliance that the players can bring to the pitch. So if these players are able to step up and show that, they're worthy of this jersey, do it the more difficult way. They could have done it the easy way. Show up today, get a goal here or there, and it would have been a more straightforward, game. But now you need to score 4 more than Arsenal, or at least 3 more than Arsenal, and at least go to the pens. So I do think it's going to depend honestly on how the players show up. If they show up thinking, that they're better and bigger than everybody, then it's game over.
Yeah.
If they show up knowing that they have to do the dirty work, they have to put in the shift, then we might have a fighter's chance.
Yeah, can't undermine the importance of mentality going into that second leg, because humility is one of the core mental aspects of going into a deficit like this. And undoubtedly, like, defensively as well, we have struggled. You never know which side of the bed you were going to wake up on, right? With this red side, you don't know what you're getting sometimes. You could have the same offensive output that you had against Man City in that second leg, where Mbappe scored a hat-trick within 60 minutes. Or you could have what we had tonight, which is absolutely nothing. Or anywhere in between. But the simple truth is that anywhere in between won't suffice, right? For a 3-0 deficit. And also another truth is that we're likely going to concede at some point in that second leg. So
that's the big worry.
Yeah.
For me.
So we've conceded in what, like 7 or 8 of the last 10, I think, if I'm not wrong. And that's really worrying. I think we've conceded 11 in the last 4 alone.
Yeah.
So our defense is not giving me confidence. Our fullbacks, I know they were fine today, but overall they're all to be blamed for. And these are things that are core issues. Like you cannot fix them overnight. You cannot even fix them in the space of a week. Obviously, you can go into the game with a game plan, and you can go into the game with better preparation in terms of offensive transition, in terms of beating Arsenal's back 4, 5, or 6, as Farouk says it. But you cannot change the core setup of this team, right? Because the team is built around a certain system, and now you have to go with that. You have to go ahead with that regardless. So I do think that to a certain extent, we're still looking at what could possibly be, a remontada built around more individual brilliance, be that from Bellingham or Mbappe or Rodrigo or Vinicius. I do think that certainly more than Vinicius, I am looking at Kylian Mbappe as the one who will take, who will lead the charge in that second leg. Obviously, that remains to be seen, but based on form alone, I do think Mbappe and Bellingham will be crucial in that second leg. So if they can get firing on all cylinders, and if they can get us 1 goal in the first 20-25 minutes, I don't even think it's going to be enough for us to get 1 in the first 45 because of how secure Arsenal can be defensively.
Big point.
But certainly the first goal is going to be important. It's going to be crucial. We can't let Arsenal, take the momentum. And I don't think they will, because the Bernabeu is a different place. The game starts off differently. The atmosphere, the build-up, all that is going to be crucial. The mental aspects of this game, obviously, we covered at large, and that's all going to go on, and it's going to matter to Arsenal as well. It just depends on how they take it then. As
Farouk is gonna kill me. He's on the way. Farouk is already. Farouk, did you book the flight to to assassinate me? But probably he hired a hitman or something, because I just saw his message. He had already mentioned it to me that he had work and whatnot. So we're gonna quickly wrap this up. Farouk has some work to be done, but this very valid point, right, that Moon makes. Rodrigo did not put any pressure on Luis Kelly. If our wingers did their due diligence, I do think we have a much better performance. Especially in terms of how we recover the ball better and have options to break the press and progress, especially when we were 2-0 down. Sid was in the chat as well. Big up Sid. He was mentioning we need 4 to 5 sign-ins done to death. I mean, at this point, if you're fielding a 40-year-old Modric, it's unfortunate, Chouameni suspension, whatnot, but yeah, still. Anish was also mentioning, let's be real lads. We haven't kept a clean sheet since February. A big factor as well. Also, big up sponsors. I couldn't do the normal housekeeping of of the channel because of how how despondent we were starting the pod. So I'm going to do it now. Big up Manscaped. Go check them out. LBI20. Link is in the description below to get 20% off at Manscaped. Also, go show some love to Fanatics as well. The affiliated link is in the description below. Official partners of La Liga in Madrid. Also, show some love to Talksport as well. Everything on LBR, the fan cams, the watch-alongs, previews, post matches. Everything is powered by the Talksport Fan Network. One thing for sure, next Wednesday, Arsenal, as much as we are under pressure, Arsenal are going to be feeling it. Coming to the Bernabeu isn't a piece of cake. We just have to be there to take advantage of that. And I hope we can. But yeah, boys. Until next time, people. Ala Madrid.
Ala Madrid.
Yeah, Farooq, you can kill me. I didn't see your message, wallahi. The moment you saw your message,